I'm going to teach you guys about the concept of the calendar effect. Now, this is a concept I got from the book The Male Advantage. The Male Advantage by Chris Sturmey. He makes really valuable videos. Honestly, I'd say he's a goldmine for young men. Watching him has completely changed my mindset to how I view life, so I really recommend you purchase this book. And honestly, I could make a whole summary about this book because I like it so much, but I'm not going to do that. One, because I don't have time to record for that long, and two, I just simply don't have the storage for it, and just downloading it will take too long. Well, enough being around the bush. We're going to be talking about the calendar effect. Now, I'm going to try explain the calendar effect to as much as I can remember. Now, he started off talking about the calendar effect in a brilliant way. The calendar effect, of course, it covers part one of the book. There's three parts. First part covers the mentality aspect of the book. Part two covering the execution aspects of the book. And part three covering the navigation aspects of the book. Of course, with the calendar effect being one of the parts, part one, which is the mentality effect. Now, prior to reading the chapter, when I first saw the title, the calendar effect, I figured it'd just be something similar to what I showed you guys in my videos a while back, where I essentially showed you how to be more productive via self-improvement habit tracker. But while I was reading this chapter, I realized it was completely different. The calendar effect. And he started talking about this in a really brilliant way. And he started off with three questions, hopefully I can remember from the top of my head. Have you ever woke up on a Sunday morning and felt as though your work is complete? Have you ever been done with work on a 5 p.m. on a Friday and then thought as though your work is done? You ever had the ambition to pursue a really big new dream, but you wait until January the 1st? Reading those three questions hit me hard, because I'm like that at times, I tend to get complacent in situations like this, and reading that book completely changed my perspective. Hold on, guys. And reading that book completely changed my perspective on things. Society puts on this, how would I say, a system. Well, the calendar effect, as the title of this video is titled, a system to which don't really exist, and it's often typically made to put people in a position of complacency, and this prevents us men to achieving what is key. Well, this prevents us men to achieving our full potential, and then we manage to accomplish way less than we're actually capable of. Concepts such as 6-week holidays, all weekends, birthdays, Christmas holidays, spring holidays, half-term holidays, you name it. Now, we tend to get really complacent, and I know I was definitely like this. I definitely got complacent back in the day with concepts such as these. I know your average man, they're quite complacent in these types of scenarios. Say your average worker who works a 9 to 5 job, 8 hours a week, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., right? Rather than using that money that he earns from his 9 to 5 job and investing it into things in which will serve him long-term value to chase his dreams, he tends to spend it on things to which are fleeting and don't really grant him any long-term value. In other words, instant gratification activities. And this person tends to make really poor excuses as to why he's doing the thing he wishes to pursue. Such as things like, oh, it's the weekend, why not? What else are we going to do in the weekend? I know for a fact you were like that, but don't worry, bro, I was like that too. But now that I'm telling you about this new concept, your mindset will completely changed with the whole concept of the calendar effect. And so, now Chris talks about the concept of front loading. Now, front loading is essentially maximizing the cards in which society have given you, things such as weekdays, holidays, Christmas holidays, half terms, not working weekdays, taking your days off. So guys, as you can see, I'm looking at the book because I forgot a few. Yeah, just a few examples out from the book. Going to university for 3 years, which means they usually follow the pace of a university course, so they waste 3 years of their time, to which in reality they can actually finish the course in 6 months if they put in actual deep work. What else? Bank holidays, special holidays on July the 4th, they usually feel that they have to rest when they really don't. Spending ridiculous money on bags of chocolate on Easter and feeling the need to do so. As we know, chocolate is so good for you. As much as we love chocolate, we can't be doing that to ourselves, guys. Taking summer vacations and believes it's okay to spend like $200, $2,000. With the concept of front loading, we essentially maximize, like I told you earlier, maximize the time in which we're given in a said scenario. So, back into the context of an average man, he comes back from his 9 to 5 job. Chris from First Man talks about 2 examples, and I'm going to talk about those examples here. Alright, so we've got person 1 and we've got person 2. Person 1 is your average man, your average Joe. Now, your average Joe, he gets up early, well, when he's told to get up, let's say about 8 a.m., right? He works a 9 to 5 job, and when it hits the 5 p.m. mark, he gets up, puts up his feet, eats his junk food of crisps, and watches Netflix. This cycle repeats throughout the 5 days of the week. He refuses to work during weekends because he feels as though he deserves it. In reality, we really don't, because 9 to 5 jobs aren't really fully productive in a way. But let's be honest, guys. But then we've got person 2. Person 2 works a 9 to 5 job. He's filled with ambition, and this contrasts significantly than the previous man, okay? Now, after he finishes his 9 to 5 job, he, like I said, he has the strong desire and ambition to improve his life. He wants to start a business, combat classes, whatever. He just wants to improve in all fields of life. He has ambitions to become an outlier male, just like myself and you. So the money, he works weekends, by the way. So the money he gains from his 9 to 5 job, he uses that money and he invests that money into his business. And he works from 7 p.m. to midnight. He gets to sleep, and then he wakes up at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. He works at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and he does this hustle and grind again. Now we're going to fast forward a few years towards the future. Now eventually, person 1 undoubtedly is less successful because he put in less work. While person 2 is more successful, for not only did he gain more money via working more hours through his 9 to 5 job, but he invested that money into his business and worked his ass off for days, months, and years, to the point where his business now has more, he's now accumulating more income through his business than his 9 to 5 job. And this means that he's now able to retire. He's making a significantly higher amount than not only the other person, but his former job. He implemented the concept of front loading, to which he maximizes time. And he didn't go with the societal narrative of the weekends, time, and just the calendar effects in general. He ignored that. These are all man-made things, I'm telling you guys, the Bible says nothing about the calendar effects. It's just societal basis, man-made holidays. There's really no such thing as holidays, guys. As men, we work. And Chris from First Man spoke about a really important concept also. And he says all men really need to know is the path and the direction we're going to. We start off in the beginning, we're born, and of course, and inevitably, the end. We die in the end. And the middle is just a straight line, a straight path, to which inevitably leads to our deaths. And it's what we use with our time. Time waits for no one. Your time will keep burning, burning, burning. You have that big dream in mind and you want to wait till January the 1st? You can do that. I mean, I have no right to say you have to live your life. You have free will now. I've got to give you free will. You have no right. But I'm just informing you. If you do plan to wait and procrastinate and not do it now, your time will burn and you will probably live in a life of regret. And so, we fast forward a few years further into the future. So let's say towards the beginning, they were about 18, right? And let's say about 7 years later, so probably the age of 25. Like I told you earlier, person 2 is financially free. Person 1 is still working and he still has a boss ordering him around. And he's getting to the point where he hates his job. He really hates his job. He does not enjoy his job. Age 30, where men begin to peak. Person 1 chooses to have kids, and he spends all his money on the family stuff and whatnot. Person 2 decides to stick it in for another 10 more years. Now, this is I'm not saying for another 10 more years. So, while person 1 uses his money to invest in family things, person 2 is invested in his business. Now, person 2 wants kids too, but he realizes that it's not the right time. He's smart. He uses his head more. The hours to which they work, simply a 5-hour extra difference every day, have made a significant difference. If you work in 5 extra hours a day and 12 hours a week, the man was able to accumulate 106 days on person 1, or 2,548 hours, which inevitably means he's making more progress than the first person. And if this goes on for another 3.5 years, then person 2 has worked a grand total of 1,274 days on person 10 years later, the man reaches age 40. Well, they're both the same age. They both reach age 40. And now person 1 is struggling even harder with kids. Because there are a lot of factors that come with it. As beautiful as kids are, they are a liability. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have kids. And that's not what Chris is saying in the book either. But until you've accomplished your life goals and you truly feel fulfilled, then you shouldn't be thinking about having children. For person 1, is now struggling ever harder. For now, these children have trips to go on. The kids get sick. You gotta provide food on the table. And person 1 lacks the financial means to purchase these things. Whereas person 2, since he sacrificed for another 10 years, he's put himself into a position of outlier status, which he's now financially free. And he can do the parent thing. He can be a parent and he can be there for his kids and actually provide. Unlike the average man who works 12-hour days a week, he chose to have kids extremely early and most of the time don't have time for the children. It's because person 2 sacrificed comfort for his future self. So now for the rest of his life, he can enjoy his future years. And that's the ultimate concept of delayed gratification, instant gratification. This is why I keep talking about this, and I'll always preach the importance of delaying gratification over instant gratification. 100% of the time, at all times. The concept of front loading is extremely important. You must become ruthless and sacrifice your time for your future self, whether you choose to indulge in pleasure or not. Understand that your time is burning and time waits for no one. And eventually, you're going to become your future self. Time waits for no one, guys. Eventually, you're going to become your future self. And all this there is results. So it's better to sacrifice now than sacrifice after. Because person 2 sacrificed 10 years and has an extra 10 years into person 1, person 1 is able to take an entire year off and do whatever he pleases. If he wants to. Because he put in that work and sacrifice. Whereas person 1 is 10 years behind and is probably going to have to put in 10 years of work, but he'll be distracted due to all the family things like kids, his wife getting in the way. That's because he chose to settle earlier. And they both had the same ambitions, but they both chose different routes, and this resulted in a different circumstance. You know, there's this narrative in the internet and the media, which basically encourages men to enjoy their younger years and just overindulge in this gratification because you're young and if you work, it's going to be boring. You're going to live life saying that are broke and they're unsuccessful. I repeat, all the people who encourage you to enjoy life young, party, just have fun, pleasure. They're not successful. They're broke and raised, emotional, and hate their lives. They hate their past selves because they sacrifice discomfort for comfort. And it turned on them. The polar opposite to person 2 who did it right. Person 2 is correct and has done the right ways for sacrificing comfort. For now, he's able to enjoy life because he sacrificed a good 10-20 years and now he's able to enjoy life pretty much to the day he dies with smart investments and whatnot. He doesn't need to worry financially. He's got a body and now he's got time to do things. He's got time to learn a language, work out, fitness, socialize with people, go to parties, do the family thing, go out on holidays with the family, go out to parties with children, pay for the trips and whatnot. He has the freedom to do whatever he wants because he sacrificed comfort for his future self. It's unfortunate for person 2 because he has to work with a boss that still keeps him alive, which really sucks. Essentially, his life is in the hand of his boss. And as we seen 3 years ago, the 2020 pandemic, it can be very, let's say, techie, because he could lose his job and then mess up the family's life. For the man's the provider, right? So it messes up that dynamic. Person 1, person 2. They're not special and they're not geniuses. They started off with the same life scenarios. They both had their ambition. It's just one was smarter than the other. Person 2 did it right. We should all be like person 2. For he's now reached outlier status. This is all because person 2 was willing to sacrifice his youth years for a better life. And that's what I encourage you. We're going to sacrifice our youth for a better life. I don't know what to title this video. There's 2 really good titles I could title this video. Either sacrifice your youth years, or I'll probably just title it the calendar effect. Yeah, I do that too. But yeah, I hope you gained value from this video. I actually really enjoyed making this video. I was really passionate with this video. Reading it yesterday got me fired up, and I knew tomorrow morning, I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. This book, The Male Advantage. I'm telling you guys, purchase this book, you won't regret it. It's a game changer. It really changes your mindset and your outlook on life, and it gives you a sense of hope. I really like this book, The Male Advantage. I'm going to dive deeper to the other concept. It's just the male advantage as a whole in future videos to come. But yeah, it's been Gordon. Have a productive day. I know I will. And yeah, smash it. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.